All right, hey, welcome to Odd Musings. I was
We are
on
here.
top of it. I'm like, oh yeah, I got a couple seconds. Oh, music's done. Oh crap. I was
Where'd the
going,
time go?
I was grabbing something. I got this book a couple weeks ago, and it's in here. A movie I talked about on here a while back was that 52577.
Mhm.
Um, I liked it. It wasn't a movie I thought it was gonna be, but I still liked it because it's about the uh Patrick Johnson. He's the first Star Wars fan, you could say, because he actually had to see a rough cut. Surprisingly, when he was out visiting in LA because he wanted to make movies, his mom kind of hooked him up with the guy that was editor of, I think, Cinematographer magazine or something like that. And he ended up getting a tour of Lucasfilm and all this stuff. And this is before the movie came out. Nobody had really heard of it. And it took him a long time to get that movie out. So I liked it. It may not be everybody's cup of tea on the type of movie it is. It's mainly about it's a neat documentary on his life, but it's done fictional and all that. But one of the guys that worked with him on it wrote a book, so I picked it up, called "Building Dreams: A Movie Making Adventure." I love stuff like this. I love reading about how people do stuff, create movies, create comics, create whatever. Especially when they're doing it independently. It's like that. And then one of my other favorite books is the Robert Rodriguez book he did about is his diary for El Mariachi, Rebel Without a Crew. That's another good one. It gives nice insight into people's creativity. And I mention that because we've, of course, got more Crimson Shadows coming out. We have another Kickstarter starting in a couple weeks here for Kevin's book, Creatures and Creators. And that's part of what we do. While we talk a lot of movies, TVs here, Scott and I, along with our partner Kevin, we create. And we create comics, create art, and create a lot of fun stuff. And this weekend we'll be at the Great Lakes Comic Con, so you have to come out and see us there.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
We should also give a shout out. Our buddy Rodney Fike, Haslam Studios, they just launched a Kickstarter as well.
Yep,
so
I was number one.
They have a new one. You were number one.
First supporter. It popped up, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll go in there." Nobody supported yet. Click, 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 click. It's like, so yeah, so definitely check out Rodney's. We'll get a page up on that here in just a minute. So, but we probably should knock out some ad leads. Let's get that done so we can get going here, and I'll start us off with Larger Family Chiropractic Center PC. Now, just let everybody know, here in Michigan today, it's an ice storm and snowstorm. Where I'm at, it's gonna be ice. Scott, I'm not sure how much ice or snow you're getting, but they're not talking about snow for me. It's all ice.
Here they're saying potentially up to a half inch of ice on everything, which, interesting side fact, they said on a typical wire, the power lines, one wire full of a half inch of ice is the equivalent of a baby grand piano sitting on those wires. That's how much weight it adds. So they're expecting down power lines. They're expecting broken tree limbs. So just be careful. We're right on the edge, though, for us, it looks like, where it could be like, we're going to be voting for the King of the North pretty soon, or it'll just be a lot of rain. So we don't know yet. But the salt trucks are everywhere out here right now. So they definitely are preparing. They canceled a lot of schools, so they're preparing for it.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not working today, staying home.
It's not worth it.
And when they talk about this kind of ice, this is just a nasty scenario of not just losing control of yourself, but having some moron who thinks that, I drive my big F-250, I could just thunder through everything. No, you're going to hit a patch of ice and wipe out somebody. And so stay home if you don't have to go out.
Well, that's the problem with the people with the four-wheel drives is, yes, you have better traction to gain speed in this kind of weather and bad weather, but stopping is still stopping. It doesn't, you have a lot of momentum to stop, and
I think ice is the great equalizer of vehicles. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. You hit ice, you're screwed.
So you got to be careful, and with pickups especially, the back end is light, and it is easier to fishtail. Technology is better where the computers can, if you have the right kind of engine, it'll compensate, but there's laws of physics still.
So anybody in basically Southeast Michigan, Northwest Ohio, be careful today. And I know north of Scott, they're talking like anywhere from like 7 to 12 inches of snow headed towards the thumb.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a good socking in weather in the northern part. And the UP is getting a nice storm through Minnesota. So they're getting socked too. So it's just an all day event. And then tomorrow, 50 degrees. So
perfect for the Comic-Con coming on Friday.
Well, it's going to be very cold on Friday and Saturday, but very little precipitation, so it's a great day to come out to the Great Lakes Comic Expo. We'll get more of that in a minute here. But again, larger family chiropractic center. As I mentioned about the weather, is because of the fact that the Dexter location is closed today. So anybody that was planning on going out today to Dexter, which I doubt is on the podcast right now, they're planning on going right this moment. Can't go today, but you can definitely give them a call. I believe there'll be somebody in the Belleville location, 734-697-4244. They chose to cancel just for the fact that the afternoon is going to be the worst, and they didn't want to get all the way out there and have to drive all the way back home and not be able to make it. So,
Yeah.
but at Lawrence Family Chiropractic Center, if you happen to go out and you're taking care of snow or ice and something happens, well, they can take care of you there too. They offer instant digital x-rays, massage therapy, orthotics by foot levelers, young essential oils, aromatherapy, full line of vitamins, all in a family-oriented environment. Give them a call, 734-697-4244. Visit them online at lawrencefamilychiropractic.com or at Book of Faces right here, Lawrence Family Chiropractic Center PC, where you can like, call, and check out everything they do.
Indeed. And then we also have Team Titans Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Even though we utilize the latest in tools and technology to maximize your home buying and selling experiences, we never forget at the end of the day, it's still a people business, and we take that seriously. So we take the time to get to know you. We put our relationship with you first, and we really custom tailor our approach based upon your individual needs. This week, we have been seeing a big pickup in phone call activity these last couple weeks. Even though today's an ice storm, it doesn't feel like it, but spring is right around the corner. Daylight savings time is only like 3 weeks away. So spring is coming quickly, and we're going to see an influx in listings and buyers and all that stuff. So if you are thinking about making a move in the next 1, 2, 3 months, give us a call now, because you really want to get the process started now. And if you're on the buy side, I've talked to so many people who are like, yeah, I want to move into a house by April. Then you got to call us now, because it takes roughly 30 days for you to find the house you want, then roughly 30 days to close. And then if they need occupancy, that can be 30 to 60 days of occupancy. So it can easily be 2 to 4 months before you're actually moving into the house if you start today. So give us a call, 586-232-5144, and Jill Webler and I will take great care of you.
Daylight savings time. Now, I want to thank you for the warning for all the people complaining online. I can't get no sleep. My schedule's messed up. Get over it. We get an extra hour of daylight in the evening then.
I love it.
Great. 7 o'clock. It's still light out. Perfect. So my warning now. Stop it.
I wanted to share this real quick. You were talking about that book, building dreams and making props and stuff. This picture has been circulating. I just saw it I never seen this picture before, but if I had a time machine, I think this is where I would go. This photo is the backlot dumpster of Elstree Studios in 1977.
Oh my God.
All the props that Lucasfilm was throwing out after they were done filming, because back then you didn't keep those kind of things. Could you imagine being able to snag all that stuff for free out of the dumpster? Now, life-size X-Wing.
We do know that, we do know that Lucasfilm kept a lot of stuff, but some of the stuff they had to trash because it was trashed already. There was nothing they could do with it. Or like that full-size X-Wing there was just too big to move.
Yeah, he didn't have storage facilities at the time and stuff. Could you imagine what that would be worth today?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, and it just got crushed somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
But, man, if someone back then is like, oh, I should take that, and that'd be kind of cool. Even if they thought nothing of it, and then Star Wars is a hit, and they're like, I have Luke Skywalker's X-Wing. Because you look top there. You can look right up there. That looks like an R2 unit sitting in it.
It could be. Yeah. So that would be so cool. I've never seen this picture, so I saw it this week. And I was like, wow, how awesome would that be?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of Star Wars news, I've been seeing more stuff pop up. Again, unconfirmed until I see it's an actual true thing from Disney, but they say they're now going to be going forward again with and I know you're not going to be crazy about the Taika Waititi's version of Star Wars that he wants to do. But they've been talking about they're canceling a lot of stuff on Disney Plus. They cancel Ironheart right now, Echo. They're shortening stuff up. Star Wars is probably the only thing in terms of anything Mandalorian verse that's not really being touched. And I include that in Andor. But it sounds like that I could see them cutting some of the stuff they were wanting to do, which was dealing more towards the High Republic stuff. So,
well, now to be fair to Taika Waititi,
yeah,
I think he does a great job. if he's on a leash, if he's answering to someone above him and he's not given full reign, I think he does a good job because he needs somebody to balance off his childish sense of humor. When he did Thor Ragnarok, I thought he did phenomenal. But then they gave him full control over Thor Love and Thunder, and it just went off the tracks.
Yeah.
So with oversight, I think he does a great job.
No, I think he's a good filmmaker. I think he in that aspect. But I agree, when it comes to storytelling, two different things. His storytelling is, when he does his own stuff, that's one thing. Was it Run Rabbit Run or whatever it was, the one about the set during the time of Hitler. It was a definitely an interesting dark comedy, which it was, and it was his take on talking about that situation. And
he also did Free Guy, didn't he? With Ryan Reynolds?
I think he was in Free Guy.
Yeah, I thought he was doing a cameo of himself because he made it.
He was playing the
douchebag game,
because he is an actor as well. He's always been an actor. But no, Sean Levy was the director. Zach Penn and Matt Lieberman were the writers on that.
Okay,
and then he played Antoine, when was the guy in that. No, he's gotten more known lately as a director, but he's been an actor, and he does a ton of voiceover work and stuff like that. But Jojo Rabbit was the one I was thinking of. He wrote a movie called Boy from 2010 and stuff like that. That's kind of how we got really noticed. There's a lot of that stuff. So
did he also do some of the Mandalorian episodes?
Yeah, he did. I believe he directed.
Yeah, I believe he directed some. So
let's see here.
He's very talented. It's just when he is given 100% control, he gets off on ruining franchises. These are his own words. Like he likes ruining your concept of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, he did do one episode of The Mandalorian, but I know he did some voiceover work for it as well. So
yeah, well, and a lot of times I believe he's one of those directors that when he is directing or writing, he'll write himself into it as a cameo too.
Yes and no. JoJo was kind of an auteur type movie where he wrote it to direct it and star in it. So it was kind of a mix of that stuff there. But I don't think he does that with everything he does.
No. Okay.
I mean, I personally would insert myself in every movie I directed too, but
I have no problem with it. Yeah, that wasn't a criticism. It's just some directors like to do that where you'll spot them in the background or something, and it's like, oh, look, that's so and so. That's who did the movie.
Yeah, I know he's listed on a bunch of upcoming stuff for directing, like a Tower of Terror, directing that. That's probably the Days on the Ride. Looks like it says Akira in production, and he's listed as the director.
Yeah.
Now that's one I'm hoping they keep a rein on him, and he doesn't try to change anything on Akira, because Akira as a manga and anime from the 80s was brilliant. It was a great film.
Yeah, I loved it as a comic or a manga. I used to buy all those issues. Really loved it when it was coming out. It was kind of, for me at least, I wasn't familiar with manga, so for me it was very groundbreaking. The illustration work and colors and the whole story was really, it was different than what we were reading at the time.
Well, if you look at a lot of the manga stuff on manga, whatever, from 60s, 70s, and 80s into the 90s, a lot of brilliant stuff. Things changed in the last 20 years here in the millennial, and a lot it's changed over there and it translated over here, and it got popular over here. So we're seeing a lot of that stuff come here. Personally, I like the stuff like an Akira and things like that. I like some of those older stuff they did. So I got one too somewhere. I don't know where it's at. It's a hardcover I bought, and it's like a World War II parody, but using like gerbils and that, and it's called and cats, and it's called Cat Shit One, and it's kind of a war type comic that they did years ago that got reprinted. I got the Kickstarter. So
I hear Kevin. I hear Richard Gere is a fan of the gerbil one.
Yeah. Never proven.
Never disproven.
Well, I don't know. It's funny though. I think it's been disproven by the fact that I didn't care where I went. Every state, someone goes, "Oh yeah, I know someone who was a nurse at the hospital when that happened." I'm like, "Wait a minute," because it supposed to happen here in Detroit, then it happened in New York, happened in Orlando. I was like, "Oh, screw you guys."
Here's one thing I gotta say though.
You know, but
If it
if it did, that's the whole reason they got South Park did that Lemmy Winks episode.
Yeah. But if it never happened, I feel so bad for him. What a horrible rumor for everyone to know.
He addressed, I think it was addressed a couple of years ago.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and
someone actually asked.
I don't know how much it was him, but it was. I saw something on it, and it was like it never happened. It was a rumor before the internet, and it was. I think it was either someone that didn't like him or something like that. But it was something like that. And of course I Google his name, and right now it's all kinds of stuff he's got. He's been ill and pneumonia and things like that. So
yeah.
Well,
oh, I'm sorry. Did you finish that part? Or
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, while we have Kevin in the stream, we could post this real quick. Here's the link. You can follow the Kickstarter to get on the list to be notified once it goes live. It's going live, what, March 7th, I believe? Was that it?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's March 7th. So click that link, go over there, hit follow me, and you'll be notified once it goes live. And you'll be able to take I assume he's going to have early bird specials. He usually does. So go check that out. It's going to be a great book. And if you have the old Creatures and Creators, this is updated.
Yeah, there's he's added a new creator. There's some more artwork. Both Scott and I have artwork in this. I did do a little editing on some of the biographies to kind of add a little bit to them and just kind of change some of the wording a little bit. Not so much to make it go for be different, but just to update some stuff. So, yep, there you go. 7 p.m. March 7th.
There you go. So go follow it and get notified.
And if Kevin wants to, we'll do a live podcast as we launch.
Yeah, and then
Hasm should be around. So
let's go over to Hasm here. Might as well. I like the title of this one. Who Cut the Cheese? Doghouse number 1.
Now this is a more adultish type comic. So it's not like they're Pitter Patter, but you can get Pitter Patter through that. So just to let people know, just because you see animals doesn't mean it's safe.
Yes. Here's the little phrase. It says, Scirocco and Rubs, our crime-sniffing detectives, are working on a fresh murder case, but they smell more than just a dead body. So there you go. So check them out. If you type in Hasm or Doghouse, DAWGHAUS, you'll find it there.
All right. And we'll get into a little Ant-Man here in a bit. But just in case you were wondering, the book is real, and you can pre-order Scott Lang's Look Out for the Little Guy coming out in October. Wait a minute.
They really wrote a book?
Yeah, it's coming out in October.
So it's written from the point of view of Scott Lang.
It's fictional satire, as they call it. Scott Lang is listed as the author. I think it's just hilarious that they don't list anybody else.
I can't believe they really did a book.
September 5th it comes out, so a hardcover.
Wow.
I popped on Amazon to check on something, and that popped up as like, you may be interested in it. I was like, no way.
Wow. So for those who don't know, the fictional character Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, writes a book, a memoir of his adventures as an Avenger and his past life. So evidently it's a real book now.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. That's one thing that's one of the things I do like about Marvel is they don't take themselves too serious. And they understand their fan base. Now, with that said, Phase 4, they might have lost their way a little. Hopefully they're coming back. But we'll talk about that later, the Phase 5 launch here with Ant-Man. But
well, I think it's still Phase 4. I don't feel like this is a Phase 5 launch, even though they may call it that, but it still feels it's a Phase 4 to me.
If it was a better movie, it would be Phase 5 in my book.
Well, that's the whole thing. Yeah, we'll get into that. But yeah, so. But I don't know. Their phases are a little screwed up right now. So, but so what else has been going on? We've kind of just jumped around a little bit this morning. So,
we got crazy news in our family. I'll share. So, so those who know, my daughter Ashley, she's got 2 children, a third on the way, and her oldest Lillian has Down syndrome, And then Evelyn does not, as far as we know. There's been no signs of it. Um, but early testing is her third child is going to have Down syndrome. Now, it's very rare to have multiple children with Down syndrome in a family. So they did some testing on Ashley, and they've come to find out she has mosaic Down syndrome. It's a form of Down syndrome. So with Down syndrome, the typical one, trisomy 21, that most people know,
Mhm.
the extra chromosome is in all cells of your body. It's throughout your entire body. Then there's one called translocation Down syndrome, where the extra chromosome like binds onto another chromosome or something. I don't fully understand that one. And then there's a third called mosaic Down syndrome, where you have the trisomy 21 cells, but it's not throughout your whole body. So, like the testing they did of hers, it was in 25% of her cells. But if they did another sample, it might be in 80%. They could do another sample and have 1%. So it's not just everywhere. It's sporadic. So she has healthy cells and Down syndrome cells. So it's just been very interesting this last week learning of this. And it explains why the type she has can be passed on genetically, which explains why she's had some multiple births now coming with Down syndrome. So it's just an interesting thing that has come to light for her. She's excited in that she's had a lot of health issues throughout her life that we've just had trouble getting diagnosed. She has issues with her joints, her ligaments, with various things, even her heart she's had issues with. And doctors have never been able to really figure out what's going on. Well, with this diagnosis, it all makes sense now because these are all things that can happen with this. So it kind of like makes her life make sense. Like, okay, now I'm understanding why I keep having all these issues in other things. So, so it's just been an interesting bit of news. None of us care in the sense of, she's still just Ashley and, nothing changes. But yeah, it's just an interesting week news-wise medically for us. She's been doing posts on her TikTok talking about this. She's really blown up there. She's got 40,000 followers on her TikTok, and it's all monetized. She makes money off of the views and stuff. So she's been doing well on that. But good. So interesting news on our end. That's all. And then with Lillian, she's been having a lot of GI issues her whole life, and we've been able to. Sounds like we have a diagnosis on that, so they're working on a treatment for that. So good answers. That's the thing with medical. It sucks when you don't know what's going on. It's very frustrating. So when you finally get a firm diagnosis, it's like, okay, this is all making sense now.
Well, good. That's good to hear that there's you got some movement on that end. Know what's going on more. So
yeah, so interesting news this week, and and then just keeping busy with real estate, and then our usual entertainment stuff that we watch.
So. Yeah, I've watched a couple of things here and there. After when I got online last week with you guys, I was just back from Florida, and then I pretty much worked every day since. So a little bit here, a little bit there. I did take time on Thursday to go see Ant-Man, which we'll talk about here in a bit, but. I think we'll talk Bad Batch first.
Yeah, Bad Batch.
Let's actually, you know what? We got Bad Batch and
Last of Us.
So let's cover Bad Batch real quick because that's an easy one.
Yeah.
Last week's episode,
it's good.
Yeah, last week's episode and this week kind of go hand in hand again, but unlike what they did a couple weeks ago where they aired 2 episodes together, it's just one and one. They left a nice little cliffhanger on that. So last week the job is to go steal some. Ore from this planet. It's very fragile, can explode, and very high. It sounds like it's used for military grade stuff, but they go and park their ship to go into the mine, and some little bugger steals their ship.
Yep.
So a lot of the episode is just them trying to get the stuff as well as get out from where they're at, watching the storm and getting through all that. So it was a good episode. It wasn't tons of detail of stuff. It was more them just getting through that series of events.
But the 2 episodes prior, I don't think we talked about them. Had a great. Oh, did we? Okay. Anyways, we had a great storyline with the clones and stuff. But Echo leaves. He's a key part. So last week's episode really deals with Omega trying to deal with, she views them as family, and they all view each other as family, but her concept's a little different. I think especially with Tech, it was featured Tech a lot. He's
Yeah.
more logical in his thinking and accepting of the change, whereas Omega's struggling with it. So it was a good pairing last week to get those two together and kind of, go through the process of learning how are you a squad when a key member is gone.
Yeah.
So that
And
was a good
understanding
episode.
that people do come and go. Not everybody stays together
Yeah.
the rest of their lives,
And
which
people process information differently.
exactly. So I think it was good on that. And I thought we've seen last week's, and I'm not getting into this week's, a little bit more of them trying to mature up Omega.
Mm-hmm.
So she wasn't as annoying as she can be last week's
Yeah, they're
episode.
definitely progressing her.
Yep. So I definitely enjoyed last week's episode a lot. And next week, when we talk about this week's episode, it'll make more sense on a lot of things. So,
Well, and like we were talking off air, and I believe we mentioned it in previous episodes too, is we definitely feel like this season is about building a foundation for whatever is next. They're going somewhere, it feels like, and this is all foundation laying.
yes. Yeah, the whole thing is they're setting up the entire Star Wars universe as they see it from their perspective. So we're seeing them show a lot of the Empire, showing a lot of
Mm-hmm.
non-Empire stuff, showing that different worlds are controlled differently now. So it's setting up things that when you watch the original movies, even you kind of like, oh, okay, they don't really get into a lot of that stuff, but there's allusions to different things on worlds and stuff like that. Just in A New Hope, when Vader walks in, when he's like, "How's the Senate going to handle it?" And Palpatine has dissolved the Senate. Well, we started seeing some stuff last week in that part of those 2 part episodes that set the stage to eventually for him to be able to dissolve the Senate.
Yes.
So we're seeing those little intrigues and things like that we didn't see in the main Skywalker saga movies.
Right.
So,
yeah. I'm liking where it's going, and I just for me, Star Wars in general is my comfort zone. That's where there's so much crap in the world. And for me, Star Wars is where I can go and just zone out and just enjoy the story. And Filoni gets that. The stories Filoni is part of, he doesn't try to inject anything other than what George Lucas intended originally. And I just enjoy it. And that's what Bad Batch is for me. It's old school Star Wars in a fun cartoon format.
Yeah, and that's why next week, starting with Mandalorian again, we get to see a bunch of that stuff too.
Yes, we get to see, also known as Last of Us Season 1 Part 2. We see Pedro Pascal continue on his journey of bringing a child home safely.
Yeah, I saw the meme, and it was from The Last of Us. And he's standing there, and the girl's behind him, and he's like, "Grogu, wait here." So,
but they're both good.
Yeah.
I'm loving Mandalorian and what they're doing there, and I'm loving Last of Us too. They just happen to coincidentally have Pedro Pascal and a child being escorted, but might as well segue into Last of Us, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, we had the 2 episodes last, not including this past Sunday, the 2 previous ones we didn't really talk about because they went hand in hand. I like how they're doing that. We're not getting a season of, hey, we're going to just hang out in Kansas City for 8 episodes.
They keep this story going.
Yeah, this is a journey. This is about the journey more than the destinations.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a wagon train type feel, but it's where Wagon Train was a whole new group every week. We had the same people we're following every time here, but he's constantly on the move, somewhere different every time. But the 2 episodes for the Kansas City really went in. We got to see a city that was just, the way they alluded to it, it was just recently liberated from the government control that was there.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a new person in charge. She was Catherine, yeah, and she was definitely. I like the actress that plays her. She was on. She's in a bunch of stuff, but she was on like 2.5 Men and things like that.
Yeah,
she's British, but has a really good American accent.
Wasn't she the one that really liked Charlie or something? Or
yeah, it was his stalker.
Yeah, his stalker. I thought that's what it was her.
Yeah.
But I also like that they didn't. A lot of times in Hollywood, they can over sugarcoat things. And it's fine most of the time. But I feel in a series like Last of Us, it was really good that they addressed it. oftentimes the people who overthrow a tyrannical government become just as bad as what they overthrew.
Right.
And they covered that in this, and I thought they did it very well, because it's not just like, it's not that they started off like, well, we want to be evil too. It's no, you, but to fight this you had to become really bad to fight it, and then you kind of become the bad that you got rid of. And I liked how they showed that.
Yeah, and that's what I enjoyed about it. It was something that we've seen in other series, especially apocalyptic series like Walking Dead, things like that. We see how, like Walking Dead did it with the governor. Oh, we have this great utopia. We've set this up, but they were definitely very hardcore. And then you get to Negan. Well, Negan was dictatorial,
Yeah.
they were both still dictatorships, but done in different ways. Where Negan was willing to, he's like, well, yeah, you screwed up and you messed me over, so now you die, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So you see that in different aspects. But I like that we saw this, and we see that, Kathleen is like, we're going after so and so. Well, he was sided with the government agencies, and the reason he did it was a little brother, I believe it is, um, was sick, and he ended up becoming deaf. And the kid that played him is actually deaf in real life. He did a great job of acting. I mean, for an actual deaf actor, it's can be very difficult when he's the only one. But I guess seeing the behind the scenes, everybody learned how to sign with him and all that stuff, and really made him feel comfortable. But he was really good. I liked him a lot in that. Um, but yeah, she wanted to kill this guy because he killed her husband, but he had done it because he was part of the rebels that were against the government. He had to choose a side. He's like, he chose family more than anything. He may not agree or disagree with what his choice is, but that was the whole reasoning behind them hunting him.
Yeah, well,
So
yeah, you got to make judgment calls at the time. You when you have a power that is threatening the lives of loved ones and stuff, and they want information, you have to make decisions. Am I going to help them, not help them,
yeah,
suffer consequences? But then making those choices when the power regime changes, now the power regime wants revenge on those who sided with the other side.
right,
And that's kind of what we had here. And she couldn't let it go. She
yeah,
she was even she even admitted her brother before he died even asked her to let it go and forgive, and she just couldn't.
yeah,
So yeah, they're doing a good job. I like the pacing. Even like an episode like this last one was, it wasn't, it was more storytelling and character building, but it flew by. The hour flies by, and
yeah.
it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, the two Kansas City episodes went by really fast for each one. Last week's went by great. And we'll talk about more on that probably next week, so everybody has a chance to catch it and watch it that hasn't seen it yet. But yeah, the whole thing was, it was Henry and Sam. Sam was the kid. Henry's the guy they were chasing in that. But I liked how they dealt with it, and they got things going. They brought everything to a head, and basically it was like, okay, hey, I wasn't expecting what happened to happen. To be honest with you, I was
Yeah,
expecting more. I expected another week or so in of episodes in
me
Kansas
too.
City. And we get to the point, and basically, they have there's a sniper. They take him out, but at this point, Sulei's already radioed ahead. Kathleen and her crew are all coming in. Well, they take out the one vehicle, it crashes into a house. Well, it goes into a sinkhole. And we had learned earlier about these underground tunnels that people had been living there, but they were all gone now. Where'd they go? Well, now we found out they were all somewhere under this ground there,
They
and
were
they come.
infected.
Yep, and they came racing out, and we saw our first bloater,
Oh
which is the
yeah.
big, the big giant one. I mean, they're just fully covered; they're just giant. And that was a suit. That was a guy in a suit. No CGI on that one.
And in real
Uh,
life, that guy is something like 6'6" or something, and like 350 pounds. And he's a huge,
yeah,
huge guy.
yeah. They got him
And
credited, Adam Basil, and he was in Venom and No Time to Die and a couple other stuff. So he's an
yeah,
actor, director, stunt man. He's done a bunch of different work in that. So a lot of stunt work in that. So
welcome to the show, Robert. We got Robert popping in there. Hey guys,
hey,
good,
Robert.
good to see you.
So, but yeah, so I really like that 2 episodes of the way they handled that. And then at the end, basically, we got, I mean, what happened at the end was you've got uh, Kathleen gets mauled at the end there by some of the creatures. And basically, they take off. So you got, main two characters, Joel and Ellie, taking off with Sam and Henry. Well, they're hiding out. And you get the two kids talking, and she's telling them a story. And then she finds out he's bit. So she
Yeah,
cuts herself because she thinks her blood will save him. Well, she wakes up and he's turned.
yeah. I
And
like that aspect too, because she's playing a young girl. I think she would have that hope, like, will rubbing my blood into him help him or not? They're saying my blood is medicine.
Yeah.
And so I like that little aspect, because then as a viewer, you're like, a part of it's not going to work, but a part of you's like, well, maybe.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought they did well on that too.
Yeah. And then, of course, when basically Henry has to kill Sam, before Joel does, and then he takes his own life,
Yeah.
which was that entire last minute and a half was completely
Oh yeah.
shocking. Was not expected at all. At least I should put it like this way: I've never played the games. Those that played the games probably see something different in these.
Right.
A lot of stuff seems to be following the gameplay a little bit, stuff like that. So, and then the only thing for this next week is they're going to be doing a time jump of a few months. So we see some differences in destination and where they're at. So they're really progressing the story really good. So.
Yeah. Joel's he finds his brother and all that fun stuff, and
that was in the trailer, so that's no real spoiler. So
yeah. So, but I like where they go. It's a good episode to watch. Good. It's a foundation building one. Great ending. So go check that out.
Yeah, definitely on that. So and
then we got Ant-Man, I guess.
Yeah. So I don't know how many people saw it. So we're gonna give some spoilers here. So if you haven't seen them and you don't want to be spoiled, well.
Yeah. So let's preface this with the thoughts and views expressed by the co-host and host of this show. It's just our opinion, and it's not meant to be an insult to anybody who did have a differing opinion.
Yeah.
I know with Marvel, people can get heated if you don't agree with them. So, these are just our thoughts.
Yep. The thing is, everybody's got their own take on a lot of this stuff, and this is our take on it. And if you don't like our take, well, it's just too bad. And you can start your own podcast and give your own take on it.
All views are welcome. It's just ours are right. No, I'm just kidding. What's interesting with this is probably 9 times out of 10, Brett and I will see the film separately, and then we'll call each other and talk and get our views. We almost always are like exactly the same. It's rare that we're not in lockstep, and we have no idea what the other one's thinking when we call each other.
Yeah, and we have different views on different things too. So,
for sure.
There's times like we both may say like feel the exact same way on a lot of things, but then in between there'll be some minimal stuff here, like, oh well, I think this way and you think that way. So we do have varying opinions on a lot of this stuff. So no worries on definitely on that.
I think it goes back to our genetic testing and how we were like 99.9% the same. So
yeah.
We're almost clones.
Sorry, my camera is tilting weird.
Well, you're like on a cruise ship.
Know.
It's like I feel like you're on a wave.
Come on, you stupid stand. There we go.
Watch it. Okay, we're taking bets. Who's going to win, Brett or the camera?
The camera, probably. So there we go. I'm still on an odd angle, but that's fine. I'll fix it later.
Yeah, I feel like you're like on a cruise ship.
Yeah, like, go move one thing and it there we go. Okay. That's better.
That's better.
Yeah. Now, okay, let's start with this. Robert King was better than I thought he would be. I agree. I liked Kang. I had no problem with him as a villain. I think just the overall of the movie itself, I gave it about a 6. I sat through it just fine. I didn't hate it. But the first half hour, and Scott and I both said this, first half hour, last half hour was the favorite part. The in-between part was, I just didn't care for most of that. Yeah. I think my biggest complaint here is, and I like the father-daughter combo stuff. That's fine, they're bringing that in.
That was the strength of the movie there, was the father-daughter dynamic.
And that's kind of what it's been through all 3 films. It started with the first one, his little girl. Everything he wanted to do was he wanted to do for her. Yeah. And then even Ant-Man and Wasp, we're post blip and all this stuff. My one complaint, and then we'll get into more stuff, is you've got one of the smartest people in the Marvel universe, Hank Pym, and they really relegated his smartness to the back steps.
Yeah.
I felt like they didn't utilize what could have been his there. And they tried him, and they made, now the wife has always been treated as a brilliant character in these movies, but they made Scott's daughter a little more smart than I think they should have.
Well, The new rule in Marvel is if you are a teenage female, you are automatically the most brilliant people in the room. You will build Iron Man suits out of spare parts in your closet while in college. You will build a quantum machine out of spare parts in your closet in Ant-Man. You will
Well,
build
one
your
thing about that
best
though, it's
Wakanda. It's
just
always the smartest.
yeah, about the building quantum thing. She did mention when they showed up, I worked with Grandpa Hank. Well, that's fine, but they made it
Right.
still implied she implied it was all her, and he barely did.
Yeah.
I barely. No, that's where Hank
Yeah.
Pym, as the genius that he is, should have said, "Hey, this is what we did," and she had this
Well,
idea, and I led her down the path to fulfill that
right. But
vision.
correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Hank actually say she built this with spare parts from her closet? I think he literally said those words.
I think I know that from her
So,
closet, but spare parts from his office. They were in his
yeah.
his lab.
Yeah.
So it wasn't
So,
her closet, but it was stuff within there that they had.
yeah.
But it's like he wanted to give her, they wanted to have Hank give her more credit than she should have.
Right.
And realistically, it should have been, no, I worked with her on this. I guided her. Basically, should have somebody say, I guided her. And that's what I just don't like is that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's, stuff like that. But as I think the other thing lacking in this story here, versus the first two was it started off a little bit of humor, ended a little bit of humor, but the humor throughout, especially in the first Ant-Man movie, is really what helped carry the storytelling. And I feel like they tried to be funny with Bill Murray in this, and it fell very flat.
It was so unnecessary, his character. That whole side story was dumb.
Yeah.
This was the equivalent of the side story in Last Jedi, where Finn, they go off to this other place for this side mission. And really, if you look at it and you cut that side mission completely out, the movie still holds up. It's the same here.
Yeah.
Had they just had them all crash land together in the quantum realm together and not even bother with this separated storyline, it all would have been the same. So there was no need for it. So it felt like filler. Bill Murray's character was stupid. Like, it just wasn't needed. I thought when we heard he was going to be part of it, he was going to be kind of like the collector, like Jeff Goldblum's character in Thor Ragnarok. I thought he was going to be one of them. And
in some ways, they've made it appearance-wise like he was, but it just didn't play that way.
Right. So it just felt so unneeded.
Yeah.
I do agree with Robert. I really love how they portrayed King. They made him very, like, you felt like he could kick your butt. And I think the father-daughter aspect of the movie is where the movie was good, in that Ant-Man, Scott Lang, prolific writer, is he's not known as the fighter of the Avengers, but to save his daughter, he took on like a major badass in Kang and was willing to stay on the line. And like the line is like, he's like, you can't win. He's like, I don't have to win. We just have to both lose. I love that. Yes. And that was where the strength of this movie was.
Yes. Oh, I agree on that. And it definitely, that you wanted that heart of it. That was, and, they didn't discount Scott Lang to bring the daughter more forward. She was failing miserably, even though she had a suit. Yeah. She basically had been, you could tell they'd set it up where she was working with Hank and his wife and even, the Wasp and that, and Scott's like, what is all this? You guys and they hid it from him a little bit.
Well, this is where the Disney side of things got involved, which pissed me off, just to be honest. So what they do, this is where they get their messaging in. It was fine that she went to jail multiple times because she's vandalizing police officers and everything in the name of social justice. The whole family's hiding it from Scott Lang. Yeah. And it was all perfectly acceptable. And I don't like that they were they're doing these subtle BS things, just like the line of socialism they're trying to throw in because the ants. Oh, look at the ants. They got socialism. I know it's a charged word, but it's like, stop working this crap in. Take it out. It's not needed, in my opinion.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's like, Hank can spot out, oh, socialism, it works. Yeah. And I want to go, yeah, none of your stuff would have got done if you didn't have capitalism because you needed money.
Well, and we're talking about ants. It only, with ant, first of all, it's communism with the ants, not socialism. None of them own the property. The property is owned by the queen ant, and
Yeah.
they are born and they work their whole life with no hopes, dreams, or ability to be personal. They are drones, and they do the will of the queen, and until they die.
Yeah.
That's so. Yes, it works as long as you have no hopes, dreams, or any thought of your future. But anyway, with that said, I do have to amend my original conversation with you slightly.
Okay.
Off air. So one of my big complaints about this movie walking out was I felt like, so remember, this is spoilers. They kill off Kang, and we find out there's all these other Kangs out there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that was stupid. Why did they spend an hour telling me this guy's backstory if they're just going to kill him off? I have to amend that thought a little bit because in people give me critiques on my opinion, I've listened, and I think they're right. I don't think he's dead. We saw him get sucked into the quantum engine. Yeah. So a lot of people are speculating what's going to happen is he's actually getting the power to go through time and space without a quantum engine. And he's going to actually come back stronger, and he's going to have a deep hatred for our version of Earth and Ant-Man. And that's why he's going to have a vendetta specifically against this universe.
Well, and he also has a vendetta against all the other Kangs who banished him. So
right.
And that makes sense. That really does. We didn't really see him. Well, it's just like everything with dealing with Marvel and other stuff like this. If we don't see the actual dead body, they're not dead.
Well, even then, you go back to Star Wars. In the earliest interviews with George Lucas, fans were speculating, did Darth Maul survive? And he's like, listen, I cut him in half so there would be no doubt. He is dead. He is dead, dead, dead. Well, what happened? He came back.
Yeah.
They found a way.
Filoni resurrected him under George Lucas's watch too. So,
so there's always a way. So I do, in retrospect now, and considering these other theories, I do think that's what's going to happen. I think this version survived, and he's going to come back even stronger.
Well, and that would make more sense because a lot of the other Kangs they showed are just, moronic. So, and there was a lot of the same looking ones out there too. So, but this one, I don't know how this one's related to the one from Loki, but it's
so going back to Loki season 1. According to him, that He Who Remains or something like that. I think that was his title.
Yeah.
So he's at the end of it all. And according to his monologue to Loki, he was the one keeping all the others in check, right?
Right. That's the way it appeared. So
yeah,
if that's the case, then the one that Loki sees,
so is it because he who remains was killed that all these other variants developed?
It's the only thing I can think of, but we have this is here, the credit scenes. One of the credit scenes, we see Loki and what's his name? It's
Owen
Wilson.
Owen Wilson.
Yeah, are together, and they're in like 1890s or something like that.
1920. I think it said 1920.
Is that what it is? Okay.
And I believe that's the original version of Kang as a professor talking about his theory on quantum. So I think that's the original version before all the timeline variants merge out. But I'm not sure.
That's what I took it as. Because it was, it's a different time, different Kang. He was not the same person. But the first mid-credit scene was all the Kangs, the Council of Kangs, which they all come together, and the Exile one has been killed by 2 Avengers. I mean, they said he was killed there, but of course, again, we ain't see the body,
right?
So and all that was they hinted at. And I pulled up something so I can remember it here exactly. It's like Immortus Kang, who's the main one, says, none of us killed him. They did. They're beginning to touch the multiverse. We see the strands of the multiverse. If we let them, they will take everything we built. So let's stop wasting time. So that's where, they summon all the Kang variants, and they're developing their plan, whatever they end up being. But then the other one was opens to Victor Timely, another known Kang variant, standing on stage giving a speech in the early 1900s about time is everything, shapes are alive, perhaps we can shape it. And then they pan the crowd, and they realize Loki and Mobius, probably by Owen Wilson in the audience, tracking variants of He Who Remains since the events of Loki season 1, which we know we have Loki season 2 coming in the fall. So I would assume that's going to continue on the story from this point here.
And we can see Loki's very terrified of Owen Wilson's like, I thought you said this guy was scary. And he's like, you could tell he's like, he is scary.
Yeah.
So he obviously has seen things between Loki season 1 and this end credit scene. There has been events that Loki has experienced. Right. So we'll see where that goes. But I am excited they're getting on track with whatever this future storyline is. We'll see. The whole Janet storyline I thought was moronic in this. Originally this was this voided place and all this, and now we find out she was this terrorist or rebel, depending on your point of view, and she did all this fighting, and it didn't fit with anything that was ever shown before. And honestly, if you take it out, it still would have been the same. Yeah, that's why it was unneeded. We also find out in the quantum realm, once again, only women can lead and fight everybody. So that's another continuing storyline. It's so stupid. And I'm sorry, any of you who want to argue with me, just look at real life. You don't have 90% women in firefighting or police or anything else running in to save complete strangers. Women will do amazing things to save their own children. Men do amazing things to save strangers.
Well, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the movies going forward, because everything is geared towards the Avengers Kang movie, which is in 2 years, 2025.
2 years, okay.
And basically we're going through phase 5 to phase 6, which is all the multiverse saga is what Feige's calling it. He says it's all the multiverse saga, so that's what 5 and 6 is together. I believe it's supposed to end with Secret Wars now.
I'm looking forward to that one.
So, and if it does end with Secret Wars, it's like, okay, so we're going to go back to what they set up with the Skrulls. They introduced Skrulls and they've not done anything with it at all. We just jumped to the quantum and multiverse stuff.
Yeah. So we know we have is Marvel's next?
We have Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's right.
Which will deal with their storyline they had dealt with, but I'm sure that there'll be something in there to tie it into the phase to go forward. And then I believe it is the Marvels. Yeah.
And then we have Armor Wars, which will be, it's now going to be a movie. Originally, it's going to be a series, right?
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
It's going to be a movie. It was originally going to be a series, but they've gone to a movie with that.
And then we have Secret Wars also, which is going to be a series.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see here. I got Den of Geek. Let's see what they say for these. So, because they keep changing some of this stuff here. Of course, Daredevil coming out eventually is part of the MCU now. Daredevil Born Again series is coming out. Of course, this article, let me see when this was dated. February 17th. It still mentions Echo and Ironheart, which I know have been put on hold. Yes. And then Secret Invasion is supposed to be a TV series, and I'm wondering if they may change that to a movie, because Disney Plus is scaling back on a lot of stuff because of financials. And I think you're realizing they need to go back to the movie side of things, because the movie side is really what's going to bring them a lot of stuff in there. So,
well, we have the reality of Disney. Didn't they do like 7,000 layoffs, and like Disney as a whole? Haven't they've been trimming up?
Well, yeah, what happened was you got Bob Iger came back in, and now he is changing up a lot of what was done originally. So, and so we're seeing a lot of changes on the production side of things, because it was just like the guy before was just like throw everything out there, and they were just spending money willy-nilly, but they weren't recouping it back. And it's realistically, a lot of stuff just didn't need to be done. But so we have I was looking at we got Guardians May 5th. November 10th is the Marvels.
When do you have that?
That is November 10th.
Did they push it back? I have July 23rd on this list.
It was pushed back. It was. I remember that.
Okay. So this is an older list.
Yeah, she was supposed to have been in the summer, and they've moved it.
Okay.
And then Captain America: New World Order right now is scheduled, and this is dated from Cinema Blend. This is dated 2 days ago.
Oh yeah, we have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse coming out.
Which I saw a trailer for that. It looks pretty good.
I really enjoyed the first one, and I I want to see the second one, but from the my only issue with the trailers, I think they have too many Spider-Man now. There was like 1,000 in there. It was almost like the end scene for Kang and Ant-Man.
Well, I think that's just the initial. That's just the
Yeah,
initial release, so we'll see. But yeah, next year we've got May 3rd, 2024 is Captain America: New World Order,
I'm looking
uh,
forward to that.
and then followed by that is the Thunderbolts, which will be in July. So there's a couple months apart, and then that ends Phase 5. Phase 6 is starts with Blade, which is supposed to be September 6th, 2024. Deadpool in November 8th, 2024. And we get to see Hugh Jackman back. And then Fantastic Four is February 14th, 2025. And that leads up to the Kang Dynasty in May of 2025. And then, of course,
Okay.
after that, and then May 1st, 2026, so a year later, is Avengers Secret Wars. So that's what's been scheduled so far. I
All
don't
right.
see anything about Armor Wars, though.
What about
Um,
What If too? I didn't see anything about What If season 2.
yeah, Armor Wars. Here we go. Let's see what they say here. Yeah, instead of being a show, it's going to be made. It's now being made as a movie. No directors attached. They don't have a release date, so that's just kind of where they're at on Armor Wars. Spider-Man 4. There's still nothing hardcore about that yet. So and then Shang-Chi 2 that's supposed to be happening. It says it's in the works. Um,
Okay.
but it doesn't give any dates. It looks like the guy that does Shang-Chi is also working on Avengers King Dynasty. So so a lot of this stuff, I mean, they could add in movies here. It doesn't look like it with the way the schedule is, but it could be a lot of the stuff is, all right, we're gonna bring these guys back, but let's deal with this multiverse stuff they started with, finish that
Yeah.
up, and then go to the next thing. Which realistically, the next thing they should be trying to go towards is X-Men versus Avengers.
I think that's really going to be brought in Phase 6. Like
Yes.
I think it'll be hinted at, or they might do initial introductions. But Phase 6, I think, is where we'll start getting the true X-Men storylines coming in.
Yeah, because at the end of Phase 5 with the Avengers Kang thing, that should satisfy that whole thing, and then the Secret Wars. Well, that right there is should be dealing with the Skrulls,
Mm-hmm.
which then could deal with the the mutants aspect of stuff. Of course, dealing with multiverse here, we'll probably get the mutants pulled in at some point in one of these. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Apocalypse, the Age of Apocalypse. Once they bring the X-Men in, I did not care for how they handled Apocalypse under Fox.
Yeah, Fox. Oh, that was a
Yeah,
horrible movie.
that was horrible. They did a horrible job, but I would totally trust the MCU's take on it. I think we need a little more time between now. What I think they need to do, in my opinion, is you bring in the X-Men Phase 6, Phase 7 is X-Men versus Avengers, and then maybe Phase 8 you start dealing with Apocalypse. That gives you a little gap for a new huge villain to develop.
Well, yeah, and they need to develop him as something more than just a movie. He's a villain that should be around for a bit.
He should have a phase or two easily,
Yeah.
And really
Well,
grow him to be a threat.
and realistically, if they introduce the X-Men in that, they could eventually just do. They could have them cross, or they could start doing just like separate superhero slash, mutant sides, and they don't have to always be coinciding, just like in the comics.
Yeah, I just think it would be a great. I think if the X-Men and mutants are new to the universe, that would really make for a great X-Men versus Avengers series at
Oh
the
no,
start because
I
of the
agree.
misunderstanding between the two.
Yeah, I agree for initially, and then once they reach their head and then go off, they kind of just split off a little bit, and maybe have a little cross here and there, but you don't have to have it constantly being, okay, here's the new X-Men movie, and here's how it ties into the next, superhero movie, tying into the next mutant movie to whatever.
Yeah, just whatever you do, Marvel, don't do it the way Fox did it.
I don't think they will. They when they relaunched the X-Men, I liked First Class. I like Days of Future Past. I like the theatrical cut, and I like the cut they did, the rogue cut, because they cut all her scenes out. But other than that, it's it's not necessary to constantly.
Yeah, but the problem with the Fox version is they always had great elements. I like the way they treated individual characters, but
Yeah.
for whatever reason, Fox just could not even keep track of their own continuity. They always completely contradicted like previous movies they did, or the next movie, or the last movie. And it's like,
Well,
why can't you guys just keep track of your own story?
that's when you had the first three X-Men movies, and it kind of messed up on that too.
Yeah.
But then when you got into the days of the first class Days of Future Past, they had a good continuity going there. It was the next two films, and part of it was you had different people taking over running it again. Same
Yeah.
problem we had with the last Star Wars trilogy. If you don't have one focal point, I mean, that's why Kevin
That's
Feige with
true.
Marvel. If you don't have a focal point, it goes everywhere else. So what they did was, what did we get with that? We had the Age of Apocalypse, which sucked because you had someone say, I just want to do this movie. And again, it was somebody recreating the wheel with the story and
Mhm.
everything else. Then we get them doing Dark Phoenix again. Didn't need
Right.
to be done, and they did it even worse than the original.
Right.
So it was just no. I mean, you need people that can go back first to the source material and then see how they can translate that cinematically. And we know it's going to be different than the comics, but if they follow more of the source material, it'll be much better in the long run.
I agree.
So
So there you have it. We just solved all of Hollywood's problems. Give us a
yeah,
call. We're for hire for $1 million
a week.
and a week
Yeah,
each.
pay me the Seth MacFarlane, the $300 million to develop crap, and I'll do that for you.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll create the South Park bot, and be Cartman. Adam Sandler is the new Daredevil villain.
Actually, last side thought for me, you
Yeah.
mentioned Seth MacFarlane. So it sounds like No More Orville. What do
That's
you
what it's
think?
sounding like. Yeah,
Yeah, I
everything I'm
love
seeing.
that series so much.
He's got his new TED series coming out, which he was working on. But more and more I'm seeing that, I'm not sure why. I think it's just more of a mix of groupings in terms of
Yeah.
who.
I just felt like the way they handled season 3, they were really pushing to grow it.
He set it up to where there was potential growth, and then the last episode wasn't a definitive end so much as, well, if this is it, this is it.
Yeah, it definitely ended well. It was like, hey, if it's not going to go on, this is a good ending, and it was a
Yeah.
good ending.
Yeah, and he
But
didn't kill off the characters. He didn't do a Firefly or kill off some of your major characters, so he knows they're not going to go on after a movie.
yeah, I was just
But
surprised how much they increased the budget for a series that ended up not going forward.
well, I think that was all initially prior to COVID, and I think they were planning on it going forward, but with delays and shutdowns, that changed everything. And I think that's part of where the problem is. That's my speculation on it. The other thing is this: I wouldn't mind them if they don't want to do seasons. Maybe we get some movies out of it.
A movie would be awesome.
A 2-hour movie where they deal with the situations like they dealt with in the episodes. Heck, most of the episodes this last season were almost a full movie.
McFarlane could easily write a 3-act trilogy for 3 movies that you just watch back to back to back. Yeah. Release them every couple of years, and I think it'd be great.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see if we could see that. I mean, I know they did the novella of the one episode. They've had some comic series stuff, and it's never taken off in terms of like huge fangirls. But those that are fans, I saw this even at San Diego last year. There's fans, they've been making their own outfits. They've been following along. But it's just there isn't much out there for us. I mean, it's just like we're limited, and you can only rewatch so much. And they didn't do they did a DVD release, but they haven't done a good Blu-ray release of the first 2 seasons, let alone the 3rd season. And it was streaming stuff like that. And then you talk about, people aren't buying. The fans want to buy the sets and own them. Yeah. I know I do. I would buy them. I just knew that the DVD set they released, from everything I read, the quality was just not there. Yeah. So I was like, I don't want to buy that. I'd rather them do like a special edition Blu-ray with the whole series if all we get is 3 seasons. So yeah. I liked Picard. Picard is it varies on Star Trek fans who likes
Did the new season start?
No, about another month, I think it is. I don't think it started yet. Yeah, I think it's another month away. Let me check here. Since we're talking. Picard season 3. Maybe it did start.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah, February. Oh, last week. Oh, I didn't even realize that.
Okay, so that's the first episode Robert's talking about.
Yep. So I'll have to go and watch that today, and then tomorrow's a new episode. So every Thursday. Okay. So
I want to give it a shot. Season 2, it wasn't grabbing me. Season 2 of Picard. I
I
just
thought it
think
was
that,
I thought it was fine. It went
yeah,
back to more trying to be more Star Trek
yeah.
in some
Maybe I'll
ways.
go back and give it a shot again, and
Yeah.
because I do want to see season 3 for sure.
Yeah, and then season 3 is the final season. They're only
Yep.
doing 3 seasons, and it's kind of the whole series now is just kind of a bookend to the next generation. So
Yeah.
it's like okay, we didn't do any more movies, we didn't do this. Here's how we're gonna let you know whatever happened to these characters and go from there. Uh, a little bit better than what they did with the original trilogy, with like Generations. Oh, Kirk's alone, blah blah blah, and then that was it. So.
Well, we can still bring Shatner back. He's still around.
He will never die. The chat goes on. So it says, due to Stewart's health, he can't do it anymore. Yeah, he's definitely had some health issues last couple of years. So
Yeah.
he's in his 80s, and he's definitely challenges stuff like that. But it's great he came back. I think he's on the verge of I'm just ready to retire. So
Well, I think a lot of these actors get to the age where, well, he's always been good about it though. But some
yeah,
actors really hate these roles that they get identified with. But then in their older years, they realize, hey, I can do my tour, rehit all those old characters, make a quick money grab before I go and retire.
well, and that's the other thing. Kind of was done that way. Bruce Willis was announced with they gave his dementia announcement this last week, and unfortunately, he can't speak anymore, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
As well as a bunch of other stuff. But it makes it. A lot of these last few movies were good. He did a bunch of these movies. He was making $1 to $2 million a movie. Was literally on set only for like 4 or 5 days because it's about as much as they could have him to do this stuff. And the reason all these movies did for the last few years, up until last year, 2 years ago, was because he knew his health was declining.
Right.
And basically he was banking money as quick as he could.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing. Stallone is actually in really good shape. I still follow him on social media. So he's all over
Oh,
that.
it's
He's still,
insane.
yeah, he's still good now. He was left out of the Creed 3, which is coming out this week, which I think was a mistake because realistically, the Creed movies aren't anything without Rocky.
Yeah. Well,
And
and that
that,
was his creation, but they've pushed him out, it sounds like.
yeah, and that's what it was. So I have no plans to see Creed 3 at all. I thought Creed 2 was okay.
They
Creed
fell
1 was
short
good.
there.
So
Everyone
Creed,
wanted to see him and Drago go toe to
yeah,
toe, and they just had a slight scuffle.
right. But so we'll see that. But it's like everything he's doing is, he revisited Rambo, all his iconic characters, and now he's got that new series I haven't watched yet where he's playing like a gangster. So he's kind
Tulsa
of,
King.
yeah. So and that's getting pretty good reviews. So he's doing a lot of. He's now doing stuff that okay, I revisited the characters, made my bank again, and which he's just banking all that stuff up, and that's because he's got 3 daughters that actually
Yeah.
are pretty hot, and he realizes might need lawyer fees.
Well, but
But
to be fair to Stallone, he's
yeah,
always embraced his fans. And I don't think he's ever forgot where he came from. So I think he's always had a love for these characters that a lot of times he created.
yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah,
and
people forget he wrote Rocky. Rocky was
yeah,
not something that was given to him. He wrote it. It was his story and everything else, and he's the
not
one that
just
did it.
wrote it. He wrote that at a time where he had nothing, and he was offered money to sell the rights to that and be done with it. But he wanted to be in it, and he held out. He really risked everything to.
Yeah,
He could have sold the rights and just be done with it, and someone else takes it. But he stuck to his guns and said, "Nope, this is mine." And he took less money to be in it, and a brilliant move on his part. He even
oh yeah,
in the story he sold his dog. He was so poor, he sold his dog because he was where he couldn't care for it. And then after he made his money, he went back and bought the dog back. I mean, that's how poor he was.
yeah. I mean, he was he was trying to had done some movies, had been around a little bit, and he just was not getting anywhere. So he said, "I'll just." He did kind of like what Vin Diesel did. Vin Diesel wrote his own short movie, and then ended up getting into Saving Private Ryan because of it, and that helped
Mhm.
launch his career out.
Yep.
He took the
Matt
chance.
Damon
Matt Damon, yeah,
and
Matt Damon,
Ben
Ben
Affleck.
Affleck. They wrote Good Will Hunting. They've been doing stuff, but they did Good Will Hunting, and then they started getting away from those type of movies they've been doing beforehand and getting more serious roles and stuff like that. So
And then let's not forget those talented creative types over at Bardstone.
yeah,
They came up with Crimson Shadows and
yeah, I can't wait to be a flash in the pan after 20 years. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh
So
yeah, overnight success only took 22 years. So
22 years. Yep.
but yeah, we got some great stuff. So definitely check us out. Now, the Indiegogo has ended, correct?
Yes, it's done. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, I never do well on Indiegogo. Something about it, I don't know, but it was a second chance. Our Kickstarter for issue 4 was a huge success.
Yeah.
I ran a second chance campaign on Indiegogo. You have to raise a minimum amount of money. It didn't hit it, so that campaign ended. Which is fine. We hit everything we needed. It's printing.
Yeah.
I got notified yesterday from Ready Comics that the shipment is going out. It's being sent via freight. So hopefully they don't send it on train because it might end up who knows where, derailed.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, they typically ship it via truck, ground shipment, freight to me.
Right.
So that probably means we won't have it before this weekend. I'll probably get it next week.
Okay. Okay. Well, this week, and I'm going to pull up our little thing here. When I booked this, I booked this as Bardstone Publishing here. And that way, we were originally Kevin was going to come out, and Scott might have hung out for a little bit, but now it's just be Scott and I because Kevin has other obligations this weekend. So tables, right there, you can see it. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit.
817 and 819.
Yep, right there. Ooh, too fast. There we go.
There we go.
817, 819, right there. And we'll be at the Great Lakes Comic Convention, which is up at the Macomb Community College in Warren, Michigan. So definitely coming out for that.
Yep. And if you want, I will. If you live locally, we can. I'll make. I'm going to have a sheet available. So if you want to buy like Crimson Shadows 1 through 3 and order Crimson Shadows 4, we can make arrangements for either you to pick it up from me or I'll ship it to you. Either way.
Now, Robert, I will be at the Indiana Comic Con. We'll be listed under Bardstone.
Yep.
So you can come.
Kevin will too, right?
Yeah, Kevin will be there with me on that one. And then at Motor City Comic Con in May, Scott and I both will be there, but we're listed under our individual names.
Yes.
We'll have more information on that once we have actual locations and stuff like that.
And those of you in Las Vegas, I will be at the Vegas Comic Con.
Amazing Las Vegas.
Yes. So I'm excited for that as well. That's end of April. So we got a bunch of shows. Either Brett, Kevin, or I, or in some configuration, will be at.
Yeah, and if you're not going to see us one of the shows and you wanted to get in one of the issues of the comics, send us a message, get a hold of us through our socials or whatever, and we will make that happen. And eventually,
also,
go ahead.
Also, I'm going to have available. There's if you want, you can sign up for our mailing list to be notified on Kickstarters and stuff, and you will get a free digital edition of Crimson Shadows #1. So if you sign up this weekend, you will get that.
Fantastic. So yep, Robert, I'll be in Indiana. We got a show this weekend, so come on out and see us there. I got to spend today, since it's a nice day, staying home, of going through all my stuff and make sure I have everything ready for the show this weekend. So, and I'll have a couple of my covers for I have left of the Crimson Shadows, but Scott will have the bulk of that. And then I do have trades for Poe. I'll have Boomtown Scabs, Adventures of Carl, and the Expendables.
I have some slabbed editions available, some sketch cover editions. Yeah, so we got some really cool stuff. Come on out, check it out.
Yes.
Have fun, buy stuff.
Exactly. So, hey, we will see you all. Hopefully, if not this weekend, we'll see you all next week.
Take care.
Adios.